obviously set pieces has been the big topic of the day in this game. This is Arsenal on set pieces in the last two Premier League seasons. First in the rankings with 24 goals. First in the rankings for corner kick goals with 17, goals against 7, second here. This excludes promoted sides as well. As for Spurs, doesn't make for great reading for them. 13 Premier League goals from corners in 2024, which is the second most of any team. As we welcome in Frank Leboeuf to talk more about this. And obviously, it's a North London derby. Arsenal have got the win here, but here we are once again with these two sides talking about set pieces, Frank.
Yeah, it is what it is, and in one side, Arsenal, it's a real a tool, and they really use it at the kind of the perfection. And the other side, they don't know what to do. And with the goalkeeper, and maybe Shaka can talk to us about that. That Vicario has been quite in difficulties to get out, where the ball is really in a 16-yard box. So I don't care that some players are blocking him. Play the thing, you know. Show to the referee to the list that you can't move because somebody is blocking you. There is a clear obstruction, but it's like he's not fighting against it, and it doesn't help his defenders. On top of it, Romero being in front of Gabriel, that's pretty awkward. On top of it, Gabriel pushing Romero, the referee not saying anything. It's another thing. So it is what it is. But you know what? Overall, if I may say, and go a little bit further than your question, I'm very surprised by the way that Arsenal have started their season and try to show that they're not like offensive that they used to be the two seasons before. I think Arteta decided to count on what is the best side for him is defensively. They've been very defensive, they've been very deep, and another clean sheet. I think it's very interesting how he persuaded his players to drop a little bit and play in counter-attack. That struck me a lot today, where, in fact, and we saw the position of the ball is very much less than Tottenham.
I'm not sure how you counter that in this circumstance. And again, to Arsenal's preparation around set pieces, you know that Vicario is not that physical presence to come over the top. So you crowd the box in, and then you trust how big your side is or how much bigger you are than the opponent to get on the end of the ball. And that's just as simple as it was for Arsenal.
What do you think, Stevie?
You know, the way Arsenal go about it, it's very difficult to defend against. Sometimes you've just got to applaud the opposition. You know, the fact, there's two elements to what Arsenal do. And clearly the first one is the delivery, because the delivery has to be spot on. And that delivery is absolutely on the money.
Yeah.
You know, it's flat, and the pace of the ball. I mean, if we're asking goalkeepers to make quick judgments with the pace that the ball's coming in, you've got no chance of doing that. But the second thing is the movement. If you watch Arsenal's players, every single one of them, whatever position they start in, they end up at least 5 yards away when the ball actually comes into the penalty box. And that is really difficult to handle. So at the end of the day, you have got to, by hook or by crook, pick a man and make sure if you don't win the ball from him, you put him off enough that he can't score. After that, good luck, because they're just so good.
So the starting position, if indeed you're going to pick up players that are on the move, your starting position, if you're a defending player, also has to be spot on. And so if you're Christian Cuti Romero, you can't be in front of Gabriel to begin the sequence, because guess what? You're no longer following what his movement is behind you. And it also doesn't help that Gabriel gives him a two-handed push, but by then he's already searching, he's already fishing. And so there are two parts to this. What Arsenal are doing offensively, but also what Spurs were not doing defensively. As to the game in general, the fact that we're spending so much time talking about a set piece for Arsenal, it tells you that this was a fascinating tactical battle. Code word for boring. Boring. Boring.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was expecting so much more about this game. So much is built around the emotion of the North London derby and this and that and the other and teams that attack. Nothing. Slow, very slow. And I suppose the responsibility is on Spurs to carry that momentum going forward. Even though they had possession, that possession wasn't going anywhere. And even when Arsenal got on the ball in moments of transition, they chose to slow it down as well. Therefore, here we are talking about set pieces.
That's down to Arsenal.
Yeah.
100%. And by the way, have a good look at what you saw today, because next weekend you're going to see it exactly the same against Man City. Arsenal are going to set out exactly the same way as they did today, to be strong at the back. And let's be honest, that back line is tremendous. I mean, he gave absolutely nothing away. But they need to do more on the counter against City if they're going to get anything.
And in fairness, there were today, though, Frank, without Declan Rice, without Martin Odegaard as well.
Yeah, it's maybe because of that Arteta tried to be a little bit deeper, because he didn't have Declan Rice on top of it, mostly. And so, because he had Jorginho and Partey and felt a little bit more fragile, he decided to count on this back four. And as Stevie said, and we all agreed, is a tremendous back four. And on top of it, Raya is very good at this moment. So it's very hard to beat. So you better count on them. And it worked very well. And it says to the opponents that they can have two players missing. They're going to be strong. They're going to be strong defensively. So at least they can count for a draw next week against Manchester City. Manchester City will have to be very good to beat Arsenal, because it's a very tough team to play against. And even without Odegaard, Declan Rice, I think will be there. So you can have, you know, the perspective of what you're going to see this season. A team seated a little bit deeper, be strong, because they absolutely showed it to the world, and playing counter-attack. It's up to the players up front to make the difference. When what was so in Martinelli in the first half, that the chance that he had to give the ball to Saka and was a bit selfish, that wasn't the best decision. So, but overall, they got it. They got the 3 points. Again, we have to talk about the foul from Gabriel and Romero. But I think overall, you know, it's English football, so let's say there's no foul.
So do we have to talk about that then? Show of hands if you think that was a foul, that push on Romero.
Yeah, I think it's clear that, and Ali alluded it, that we see Gabriel pushing Romero. So there is a foul. Now it's up to the ref to say, is it a light one? On top of it, Romero doesn't really complain. That's a fact. But I can see, and we can see from the back of the goal, that that's a real push. And therefore, you're not allowed to. So it's a foul.
Is Pedro Porro's foot not at the same height as Jurrien Timber?
Pedro Porro comes over a little bit later than Jurrien Timber. So as a result,
he's on the top of the ball.
But you can't argue that Jurrien Timber catches him over the ankle.
But you can't argue that Porro's foot's exactly the same height. It's actually a case of it's just unfortunate.
I'll say that. We could argue that maybe he wants to bring it there, but because Timber is first, he catches him above the ankle. We can't. If they were same height, they'd catch each other stud to stud.
But his foot's on the ball. His foot is on the ball.
But if both of them were there,
he's got the momentum going that way.
Listen to my point. If both of them were there at the same point, at the same time, and their feet were at the same height, they would catch each other boot to boot or stud to stud. Jurrien Timber doesn't catch him stud to stud. No. Whichever way, right? And why I say it's two incidents, because then it continues. Albeit Vicario's the aggressor, comes over and grabs the shoulder of Jurrien Timber, who responds and grabs the shoulders of Vicario. Now, never mind the foul. If it were just that isolated incident, Vicario and Jurrien Timber, goalkeeper comes into him and he reacts that way, 9 times out of 10, referee books both players. So if we're saying, all right, it's not really a red, the first challenge, but I'm going to book him for it. The second incident, you can't just book Vicario. Either you book nobody and show Jurrien Timber the yellow and we move on, or you have to show him 2 yellows. It's 2 incidents, 2 separate incidents that I think each are deserving of a yellow. And I can make the argument that the first is probably deserving of a straight red.
The referee did that during the game. I can't think whether it was before or after that, where there was a foul and he played on, and there was another foul and he gave 2 yellows. So he actually did what you're talking about. Again, I can't remember if it was before or after, but from that point, that's the one I agree with you. If you're going to give him a yellow, okay, but then you have to give him a yellow for grabbing him.
Yeah.
So I guess either way, We finished up at
Well,
Good job, guys. Good job. Good job.
Hang on, we've got to get Frank into the fray here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Frank Leboeuf, I feel like you've got an opinion on it.
Yeah, for me, in both cases, Timber shouldn't have carried on playing. That's for sure. He could have gotten 2 yellow cards, and he would have gotten a red card. It wouldn't have surprised me. In fact, he put his foot above the ball. He's not a control the ball, and then he goes to Pedro Porro ankle or even fibula. So for me, it's a clear foul. We saw so many times where, we saw Ferran Torres today with Atletico Madrid. Bye-bye, red card, straight red card. So rules are rules nowadays. It doesn't depend on you. If you play in La Liga or if you play in Premier League, rules are rules. If you have a dangerous conduct, or behavior, whatever it can be, it's a red card. So yeah, he tries to play the ball, but he wasn't in control. He had a dangerous tackle after that. That's what it is. And it should have been a red card for me.
You know what's amazing, and it's not surprising to anybody, is that coaches are so dependent upon what the final score of a game is. Because Mikel Arteta is not coming out and talking to the media and asking for consistency of the calls.
Tottenham through 4 games, last 2 Premier League seasons, and this is what we're looking at here. What do you make of it, Stevie? That is a face that you're pulling.
I know, because I feel for this guy. I'm not so sure what else he can do. This team, in every game they've played, have attacked the opposition, regardless of the opposition, gone for it, gone forward. They've done everything. They've created lots of chances. Maybe not today, but before this, in all the games, they've created lots of chances, but they just haven't been able to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't know what else this guy's supposed to do. He can do everything from starting at the back to how they get up into that penalty box. And after that, it's down to the players to do what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately for him right now, I know Solanke's missed a couple of games, but right now, their centre forward that they spent a lot of money on doesn't look as though he knows where the goal is. That's their biggest problem. Not how they're playing or you know, again, Ali's talking about, it's all about results, which it is. But if you're the coach and you're sat there trying to figure out how we can fix this, how do you fix it? You cannot go on the field and stick it in the back of the net yourself. You can only get them to that point, and then it's up to them. And right now, well, he's helpless.
And his tone tells you that he's helpless. It doesn't look like he's a guy that has all the answers coming around the corner and that some sort of miracle is going to walk through that door. And to the point of Solanke, not only does he feel like he's never going to score, I think his teammates now feel like, I don't know that this guy's going to score. And that's the way they play once they get into the final third. There is a lack of confidence about Spurs in front of goal once they get in and around the 18-yard box that is clear to see. You can sense it. You can feel it. You can feel it in the stadium. You can feel it in the field. You can feel it through the TV screen. This team right now in front of goal, thanks, but no thanks.
I have to say, I'm with Stevie, and I really like Postecoglou and what he's done, and what he's doing with Spurs. I think the unfortunate thing, if you can call it that, is how well Spurs started last season. Spurs started like a house on fire, and all of a sudden the expectation around who they are, what you're going to get from them week in, week out, was raised. Before a ball was kicked last season, we all thought that Spurs would really struggle. And then they had the start that they did. And then things kind of normalized a little bit, particularly in the second half of the season, and people started to criticize Postecoglou as not having a plan B, only playing one way. If Spurs had started last season exactly as they started this season, I think our discussions around Postecoglou would be different. I think even Postecoglou's tone would be different, because I'm with Ali. All of a sudden, he sounds a little bit defeated, when you didn't see that for most of last season. But he all of a sudden is starting to look as though he's starting to struggle. And that for me is a concern. I still see Spurs as a work in progress. And so we'll judge them from that lens.
You know the biggest worry? Nobody knows how Solanke is going to react, because he's never been under pressure to score goals. You're not under pressure to score goals when you play for Bournemouth. When you do, it's great. When you don't, okay, keep going.
It's Bournemouth.
It's a different ball game. We'll see what he's made of the next coming weeks.